Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Live at Nasby with me, Natalie Sherlock. And today is a very exciting video because I am not only talking about my tips and tricks on how to manage and avoid meltdowns, I am also giving you some very exciting news, which is that I will be filming a series. So my series is all about mental health, and each episode I will cover a different mental illness. So in the series I will be giving my own experiences with said mental illness. Then I will be interviewing a person that also suffers from it, and then I will be giving you a list of celebrities that have also experienced it. And then I will be giving you my sort of advice, tips and things on how to overcome it or manage it if it's not if you're not able to overcome it. So yes, so that will be out very soon. I haven't actually started filming it yet, but once it's filmed and edited. But whilst you're waiting for the series, I've got loads of other videos planned for you. So just hang on, and also subscribe if you haven't already done so. So this was a subject that was brought to my attention recently. Obviously I am very well versed to meltdowns, and I've had many of them in my lifetime. And first of all, I want to just explain to everyone what is a meltdown. So a meltdown is something that happens to an autistic person, well, usually an autistic person, but not exclusively. And it is different from a tantrum. I hate the word tantrum. But it is different from a tantrum in many ways. One of the ways, well, I'll list the ways it's different from a tantrum, because children, or, toddlers or young children tend to have tantrums if they are in a shop and they want something and their parents won't let them have it or something like that. But if a child has a meltdown, it's usually due to a sensory issue, and also a child having a tantrum will want to see the person's reaction and get what they want by screaming more or kicking more or doing whatever. This differs from a meltdown because a person having a meltdown doesn't care what anyone else thinks. They don't care. They literally are in that situation. They don't care. It's not about wanting attention. It is purely I can't handle this situation. There's something that has triggered my brain into going crazy and short-circuiting. So mainly meltdowns are caused by a sensory issue. That could be if you're in a shop. I mean, they are very common in shops because of all the loud noise and the lighting. So in shops there are mainly tube lighting, which I will come on to, because I'm going to do another series after the mental health series called Autism And. So every episode will be autism and something, autism and sensory issues, autism and organisation, autism and communication, everything, something like that. So, so I'll cover that in the sensory aspect of autism video, but just quickly, tube lighting, so the ones I mean, the ones I have in shops and schools and office buildings, etc. So that kind of lighting actually is very stressful to us because our eyes can see, because those lights, they flicker at like 1,000 miles an hour, so they like going like that constantly. And we can see that. People on the spectrum can see those lights flickering, but other people can't. Neurotypicals don't see the flickering. So a lot of people, I'm going to do a video on stimming, but there's lots of spoilers in this video. Spoiler alert. So one of the things that affects us is the lights. But a way some people cope with that is by waving their hand in front of the light, because if you've ever been a kid and waved your hand in front of a computer screen and saw like you have 1,000,000 fingers, it's like that. So if someone with autism waves their hands in front of one of these tube lights, it actually counteracts the flickering, and we then see a steady light and it's our fingers that are that actually make that weird visual. So, which I've always hated. I've always hated those flickery lights, and no one else can kind of see them flickering, or they don't bother anyone else. But they always bothered me. So I am actually. This is going to be included in my. In my webinar. So I'm going to do a webinar about, all about disabilities and how business owners and schools can create a disabled-friendly environment for their customers and pupils, etc., and staff, obviously. And also breaking down the barriers and just quashing all the stereotypes and myth busting, and everything like that. So I was recently involved in a podcast with the Youth Voices, I think it was called, and they actually we talked about all kind of disability myth busting and everything like that. So yeah, if I can, I might try and put that in the description, but no promises. But yeah, just maybe you could type it in Youth Voices podcast, and I think it's available on all good podcast streaming websites and apps. So apologies for the camera shakiness. So back to meltdowns. How can you avoid meltdowns? So avoiding meltdowns can be difficult, particularly if you're a parent or carer of someone on the spectrum, because another common reason for meltdowns is changes in routine or plans. So if you tell your child that they're going to, I'll give you a real life example. Mum, a couple of years ago, Mum said, we're going to the garden centre. I was like, fantastic, I love the garden centre, fantastic, I was so excited. Well, when we got in the van, we got halfway there, and there was a bunch of roadworks, and we had to turn all the way back again. And as soon as Mum turned the van round, I went crazy. I short-circuited and tried to get out of the van, and I was just having the hugest meltdown. And it was really, that's another thing of meltdowns. People having meltdowns don't care about their own safety. They'll just run across roads, fight or flight. The flight or fight instinct is activated, and children with meltdowns still, children with having tantrums, they still realise what's going on around them. And they're still self-aware and aware of what they're doing, but people with having meltdowns aren't aware of what they're doing at all. It's like something else takes over our bodies and just flashes our arms and legs about, and yeah, it's not good. So they are they should be avoided at all costs. Back to the real life example. So because Mum had said that we're going to the garden centre, and I'd got that into my head. When it turned out that we couldn't go, it was too much for my brain to handle. So a huge helpful tip when you are planning. So plan the day ahead. So plan your days like a day in advance. So say to the child, tomorrow we're going to do this, that, and the other. But if we can't, we're going to do this instead. So always have a backup plan. So that child knows, or that person on the autism spectrum knows, that the reason knows that if you can't do something, you're going to do something else instead. So there's a backup plan. They said, okay, don't worry. And when I was in college, one of our college, one of my peers brought in her son's visual cards and everything to help him sort of with his routine and that. And she had an oops card, which was the best thing I think I've ever seen. And it was basically, so if something happens that we can't do something, like if the bus breaks, if they're on, say for example, you said to a child, right, today we're going swimming, and then the bus breaks down or something, you could get out your oops card and say, right, oops, the bus has broken down, but instead we're going to go to the park. So at least they are still doing, make them aware of the change before it happens. And just that should keep them calm. And but in terms of so if it's something to do with not getting what they want, that can be a problem too. And also if they're not in control, or they don't feel like they're in control of the situation. So if because a lot of the people on the spectrum, myself included, feel the need to control the situations that we are in, and if we can't control the situations, then that is something scary. And I think, and that is when we have meltdowns. So for that, I would say compromise is the best thing. So if your child wants, or an autistic person wants something, and you don't want them to have it, then if it's a reasonable thing, then just let them have it. But if it's something if you don't want them to have it for a good reason, then tell them, give them an alternative. Or say compromise. So just compromise and negotiation is the way to go there. And don't say anything to them that is triggering. So there are lots of reasons I have meltdowns, particularly Mum saying something to me that is totally triggering or whatever. So I am actually going to make a video very soon that explains all the things that you should never say to an autistic person. And I have seen videos like this in the past, but this is going to be my version. So, and my personal sort of trigger words and everything like that. So that is my tips and tricks on how to avoid meltdowns. And now I will give you my tips and tricks on how to, you've tried all the avoiding a meltdown techniques that I've just given you, but you still find yourself having a meltdown, or your child or person you're looking after has a meltdown. So what do you do? First of all, encourage, so from a parent or carer's perspective, encourage the person to breathe, take 5 deep breaths. They're not going to want to listen to you, but just turn it into a game, and also distract them. Distraction techniques are probably one of the best ways of coming out of a meltdown. Say something to distract them, and say is the world is the world bigger up and going up and down, or is it bigger going left and right, or is it the same size all the way around? Something to get their brain thinking, because then they'll say, they'll start thinking about it. So yeah, the actual answer is that it's bigger left to right, because the Earth is not a complete sphere, it is an oblate spheroid. But never mind that, tangents. But yeah, so you should distract the child. Also, try and make them laugh, and also don't fight back. So no matter how hard the child is fighting, or a young person or whatever is fighting, just keep your cool. Don't shout at them. Don't hit them. Definitely don't hit them. Don't try and fight back in any way, because that will just add. It's like being literally, when you're having a meltdown and someone is fighting back, it is literally like pouring petrol on a fire. Explodes. Yeah. So I know for a fact that things explode if you fire explodes if you pour petrol on it. Call it a misspent youth, if you will. No, it wasn't actually me that did it, but anyways. So that is say something to make them laugh. Try and make them laugh if you can, and also use their favourite interests, because lots of people on the spectrum have specific interests. I'm going to do a whole episode on that in the Autism And series. So yeah, and I think that should be the conclusion of our video, and I hope these tips and tricks helped you, and I hope you have a peaceful and happy time, and avoid those meltdowns. Avoid those pesky meltdowns. Goodbye, God bless, continue being awesome.